In astrology, 11 represents sin, transgression and peril. On the almost 30-minute quiz show, episode 11 represents cynical news review, irreverent innuendo and good old middle-aged banter.
This time, Ricky goes rogue. He ran, but clearly not fast enough, fragrant vaginas and wacky weird what's.
So join him, Mark, and me, David, in this nothing's off limit naughty news quiz.
And welcome to episode 11, the episode where David writes lots of stuff for me to try and crack up laughing, like in the intro.
You mean fragrant vaginas and wacky
that
weird
originally said vagrant vaginas.
That's because I can't spell all right.
And since then, I've not really I can't keep a straight face.
How are you, Mark? How have you been over the last 2 weeks?
Well, I've had 2 teeth out, so I've been brilliant, and I think the anaesthetic is still coursing through my body, so I'm actually quite chilled at the moment.
Were they knocked out or...?
No, this nice man stood there and yanked them out while I was under anaesthetic. So,
Thank you.
So now when I have a nice bowl of soup, it just comes down my cheeks and through my nostrils. And
any other medical things you want to share with us?
Well, the cold weather is affecting my bladder, but I'm not sure I want to share that. So we'll move on from that.
Okay.
How's your health?
Oh, apart from having numerous doctor's appointments over the last 2 weeks, being put on all sorts of pills, including ones that make me incredibly itchy in my thigh.
Oh, I'd say irritating.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
I need a cure for my irritatingness.
We're planning a tour, aren't we? We're going to take the quiz show on the road if we get permission from our other halves and holiday from work and some money.
And then we will be heading to...
Don't know. We keep changing.
Where are the possibilities?
We're looking at Poland. We briefly mentioned Manchester today. I think we've looked at Paris, Marrakesh, the Ukraine, South Africa,
Rio de Janeiro,
New York,
Boston.
I think the actual outcome will be wherever's cheap. So probably the Ukraine and Poland.
Batumi.
If you want, but...
Thank you, darling. In the meantime...
Yerevan. Sorry, we finished that one, haven't we? I'm just going to randomly shout out world capitals as I remember them.
Before we get on to the questions, should
Tbilisi.
we tell people how they can listen to us? Apart from listening to us right now.
Well, if you're listening to us, then they probably don't need to be told how to listen.
So it's how they should tell their friends.
So tell your friends.
Or enemies, probably, more appropriately.
No, friends.
Okay.
Friends. I mean, we'll keep it as an intimate circle because even though we are a top 50 iTunes news commentary podcast now, because there can't be more than about 52 of them.
Right.
But we're in the top 50-ish. You can hear us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Castbox, Podbean, and any other good podcast supplier app. Whatever.
I thought Podbean was like a coffee place.
That's Starbucks.
That's not coffee.
Okay. Well, sort of. Depends where you live.
Sort of pish water. Yes.
And you can find us on Facebook, The Almost 30-Minute Quiz Show, Instagram, The Almost 30-Minute, Twitter, @AlmostQuiz. I think I've used all the words between those two. And you can email us. Please email us, because we're always looking for people to do the guest question rather than dragging them off the street.
Absolutely.
You know, we'd happily take guest questions from you. Almost 30 quiz, using words and not numbers, almost30quiz@gmail.com. And one last word before we go on to the questions. The S word. No, subscribe. Please subscribe, because that way, every 2 weeks, you will get our fresh podcast, including episode 12, 13, about 16 before we go on tour.
Right, and you'll also be entitled to all of our old dirty ones as well as the fresh ones. Can I do a shout out?
Yes, you can.
I just want to say hello to Andy in Cumbria, who messaged me this week to say that he's really enjoying this. Cumbria is being the Lake District in England.
And Andy, if you've got a friend, get him onto the podcast and we can double our listenership.
Right, actually, Andy, if you want to pose a question for us, you could also do that. So think about that and we can talk about it during the week.
Okay.
Questions.
Question number 1. Which film won the Golden Globe for the best drama this month?
Question number 2. Whose parody Twitter account said on the 5th of January, quote, "For sale, 2016 Black Ford Explorer, 3,400 miles." 34,000.
34,000.
34.
There's 3 zeros there.
It looks like coconuts from here. 34,000 miles, minor dents, $14,000, or best offer.
Question 3. Thank you for this. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Well done. Question number 4. What did English physician Joseph Mortimer Granville invent in 1883.
And question number 5. Apple and Moses are the children of which famous actress? Does anyone want question 3 again before we go to the break?
Go on, go for it.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Drum roll, please. Question number 1. Which film won the Golden Globe for Best Drama earlier this month?
Don't know, don't care. Hate awards, hate ceremonies, hate those people, hate celebrities. I'll watch a film and make my own mind up. I don't need other people to tell me. No, it depends on the film. I would say 90% of the films that are made, I hate, yes. About another 8% I'm sort of couldn't care one way or the other. And 2% I'm probably pretty thrilled by. And
I'm just trying to work out if you got past 100.
That's 100. And then there's like another 0.01% of films which I won't talk about but are very popular on the internet.
Are they one of those? They're trailers. They're not short films. Those are the trailers.
Oh, God.
It's probably why you're not enjoying the films, because the trailers are...
I cannot abide people, as in my family, who watch a trailer immediately before they watch the film. So you watch all of the best bits of action films, all the chases, all the murders, all of those things, and then you watch the film. What's the point?
Because if you watch a trailer of 2 minutes and it's gash, then you save yourself the next 2 hours.
But if it's good, you've ruined the...
But the trailer's not supposed to give away the plot. I mean, some of them do because they don't have a plot. Right. Anyway, can you name the film? I have to admit, I'd not heard of this film.
I'll go for it. All right, Wizard of Oz.
No. The film was 1917.
Oh, it's meant to be really good, actually.
Yeah.
Having said everything.
I only know about it because it won the awards. Because usually, most of these films have just come out in the States because they're fresh in the audience's mind.
I happen to have just been in the States and I watched the trailer for 1917.
So you don't need to watch the film then?
Do you know what? The trailer went on for about 30 minutes. It's all blood, guts and gore.
Is it like a prequel to Saving Private Ryan?
I think it's that type of film, yeah. But is DiCaprio in it? Do I remember?
I have no idea. I think Sam Mendes is the director.
Okay. So Sam Mendes did not The Exorcist. He did. No, he didn't do Evil Dead. No, that's someone with a very similar name.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he did a James Bond film. He did.
Correct.
Not the current one, but the previous one.
You are right.
And then he was down to do the next one, and then had another project, which
go.
Clearly worked better for him than James Bond.
So shall we get on to why we've done this? Should we just hear from a guest first?
Yeah, I mean, this is the main reason why we're talking about the
Golden
Globes, not because we care about films.
Let's just listen to our guest for the next 49 seconds or so.
Apple roared into the TV game with a morning show, a superb drama, a superb drama about the importance of dignity and doing the right thing, made by a company that runs sweatshops in China. So, well, you say you're woke, but the companies you work for, I mean, unbelievable. Apple, Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent, wouldn't you? So, if you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God.
Utterly brilliant. I love that. But unfortunately, Ricky Gervais is not in the studio with us this week. But what do you think about his comments?
So this was him talking to a bunch of famous people.
Yeah.
I thought the reaction of Tom Hanks, if you saw the video, was incredible. Tom Hanks just cannot believe what has been said. And whilst I totally object to celebrity and the glorification of these people, I think it's fair to say that somebody like Tom Hanks is incredibly talented, is probably a very intelligent person, probably studied for far longer than Greta Thunberg has to date.
Yeah.
And I think he was rightfully offended. On the other hand...
Do you think he was offended, or he was just, oh my God, how can you actually say that in this audience?
A bit of both. I think it was... If you listen, the laughter, it's part of a 10-minute speech. The laughter...
7 minutes, 42 seconds.
I just listened to a 10-minute version.
Your thing is slow.
Maybe it was clapping at the end. Anyway, if you listen to the applause and the laughter, it gets less and less through the whole speech.
Apart from, I don't know if you heard the Leonardo DiCaprio joke.
Yes.
Where he was talking about his, I think it was Once Upon a Time in America or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And he said, I'm not saying the film was long, but Leonardo DiCaprio's girlfriend was too old for him by the end of the film.
But so what do you think?
I'm a cranky middle-aged man, and the last thing I want to hear is some dried-up rapper or pop star trying to tell me who I should vote for, what I should believe in, while at the same time they don't subscribe to it. So from that point of view, I fully agree with him. Was he doing that because he genuinely believed it, or was he doing that because he thought, this is my last Golden Globes, I'm not doing this again, get plenty of headlines, and it was self-publicity on his own part?
We'd love to hear what you think. Do let us know. We've already told you the various ways to do it, but why not drop us an email to almost30quiz@gmail.com.
We'll be back in a second.
Mark, question number 2. Whose parody Twitter account said on the 5th of January, quote, "For sale, 2016 black Ford Explorer, 34,000 miles, minor dent, $14,000, all best offer," close quote?
Can I phone a friend?
You can.
Was it Edward Kennedy?
I don't know if Edward Kennedy has a parody Twitter account.
Princess Grace of Monaco?
I doubt it.
I'm showing my age here. These jokes are about 40 years old.
Yes, I'm just wondering if Twitter was actually invented.
Who's had a car accident recently?
I'll give you a clue.
Oh. Qasem Soleimani.
You knew all along. You were just faking it.
I know, I wrote the question. I have to drag it out for suspense a little bit.
Okay, so you wrote the question. Why did you write the question? What did you...
Well, I wrote the question as a sort of entry into us talking about Iran, because it has kind of dominated the news everywhere except Britain for the last 2 weeks, where they're still talking about Meghan leaving the royal family. But
you had to get it. You had to get it in somehow.
Well, yes. For those people listening in Britain, there is another story, sort of on the 15th page of the newspaper, other than the royal family.
So, tell us a little bit about this.
Well, Qasem Soleimani, by all accounts, is the head of the Iranian military project, and not just the army, but he essentially goes around the Middle East to other countries. He helped Syria and the Syrian regime fight off ISIS and any rebellion. He's helping out.
No, if you said he's fighting off ISIS, it makes him sound like a good guy.
Well, that's how they try and portray him. But he's also been involved with I think the Houthi rebels in Yemen. He's been helping the Shiite rebels in Iraq. He's helping to fund Hezbollah and Hamas, which are prescribed terrorist organizations in the United States and I think in the United Kingdom. So with Iranian money, he is trying to spread the sphere of influence of Iran throughout the Middle East and beyond.
So the Quds Forces, which is the organisation that he headed, which is the foreign arm of the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guards Council, has its fingers not just in the pies that you mentioned, but in Africa, in South America. They were responsible for an attempted assassination of the Saudi ambassador in Washington, D.C. They really are a thoroughly, in my opinion, nasty organisation.
He was in Lebanon, I think, 15 years ago and almost died. I think he was supposedly behind bombings in South America, in Argentina.
You name it. Yeah. So I had a discussion with a very intelligent young man by the name of Ethan over the weekend, and he was trying to make the case both for Soleimani, but more so the case against the United States for carrying out the strike. He's saying it was an act of war. He was saying it's something that you just don't do. You don't assassinate somebody just like that on the basis of Trump's speech and other comments made by leading officials in the administration who said they were stopping him from doing something in the future. If he'd done something in the past, if that was the basis for it, then you could argue it was fair punishment. This is what this lad was saying. I don't agree with him.
No, I don't either. If you look at, I think 7 people were killed in the drone strike by Baghdad airport, and one of the people who he was with was involved the day before in the attack on the American embassy in Baghdad, where a number of protesters stormed the embassy and were only sort of held back by Iraqi security forces and American Marines inside the embassy. But most of the diplomats and people working there had been evacuated. So from an American point of view, there had been essentially an attack on American soil the day before, and that justified it. This guy was clearly picked out, and that he didn't just happen to be driving in a car. I mean, he was picked out, and they'd been following him for ages, and they decided that was the day to do it, to say, you can't storm our embassy. Do I agree with it? I don't know. I mean, people like that are not good for this earth, and, I think the world will be a better place without him, long term.
Do you think that the US were right to take out people like Baghdadi, people like Bin Laden?
Yeah, I think so.
Because they're saying this guy was worse.
I mean, if you look at what these people have done, they have killed thousands and thousands of people. If you look at how many people died in that attack, or those 2 attacks in Argentina that he was responsible for, it was over 200 people. So, why would anybody feel any sympathy for him? I think a lot of it is more sort of anti-Trump feeling. And I get that. People don't like him. And he's very poor at explaining why they've done it. Justin Trudeau yesterday, I think, said, had this not have happened, then the Iranians wouldn't have shot down that Ukraine Airways jet over Tehran, killing 170 people, including 60 Canadians. I'm sorry, I don't buy that. That's like saying, had I not hit you, you wouldn't have hit me back. Therefore, what was the point of it? There was a reason it was done, and you cannot blame Donald Trump for people randomly firing missiles in the air, not taking care of what they're doing and shooting down a plane.
We've got to stop, and we've been far too serious for far too long. When we come back, we'll be chucking some wood.
Question number 3. Thanks for this one. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Oh my gosh. Do it again.
Thank you. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
How much if they would, but it's purely theoretical, and I assume a woodchuck is a bird, right?
It's a beaver.
It's a beaver.
Sorry,
okay.
No offense.
So if beaver doesn't chuck wood, they just carry wood and go blah, 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 blah.
If you could see that now.
Buck
If we had video.
My ground down bucked teeth. I would argue the answer is 0. But go on, what's the answer?
You want the full answer?
Go on.
He would chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Very good.
Do you want that one again?
Go on.
He would chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could if a woodchuck could chuck wood. And we're not deliberately filling the show because we don't have enough material. That's question 3.
I can say, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. Where's the peck of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked? But I think that's much easier to say than the one you just did.
No, I think that one, I could never do that.
Okay. So
mainly because I forget it. The amnesia.
Right. And seashells is actually very hard.
So why are we asking questions about woodchucks?
I don't know.
I'm trying to work out how this links in.
You wrote this question as well.
How much?
How much?
How much? Because it's statistical.
We do it.
You're supposed to go 27% of the woodchuck that a woodchuck chuck
right.
wood.
You're an accountant, aren't you?
I was.
Yes.
I'm retired from
Okay,
accountancy.
you still do that sort of thing. But anyway, what we're going to look at now
I'm not disbarred. I am retired. I promise.
Weird. We're going to look at some weird statistics, and I'll start with this weird statistic. The global rate for washing hands after using the toilet is under 20%.
Yes.
Is that just guys, or do you think that women also...
That 20% is women.
That's women?
I bet you. If you did that just for men, it would be under 2%.
So you reckon women bring it up?
And then they come out of the pub toilet and they put their hands straight in the nuts.
Do you know the worst part about toilets is you wash your hands really well, dry them and all that stuff, and then you have to go to the door and put your hand on the door, and the door's like wet.
And 98% of the people who have opened that door haven't washed their hands.
So what I try to do where I can is actually take a paper towel and and hold the door with it. But the problem is sometimes you can't quite reach the door. And anyway, whatever. It's a real science. Come with me to a bathroom one time and I'll show you what I mean.
There's an offer. Come with me. We're only on number 1. This could take forever. Number 2, 34% of adults still sleep with a comfort object.
Your wife?
There is sometimes a comfort object in our bed, a teddy bear.
Really?
Or 2.
Yeah, actually, you collect teddy bears.
Well, my wife doesn't throw. I've got like 2, I think, from my childhood. And between my wife and my son, there's another 30 or 40 in the house.
I've got Nellie the elephant, but she most definitely doesn't sleep in bed with us. But we do sometimes have a dog between us in bed.
It doesn't really look like a dog. It looks like a teddy bear.
You leave my doggy alone.
Trust me, I wouldn't touch it.
Number 3. Americans receive about 2.4 billion. Does that say billion?
Billion.
2.4 billion robocalls per month.
That's about 10 per person.
That's just absolutely.
And if you think there are 3 or 4 people in a house,
That's crazy.
basically the phone will go every day with a robocall in America. Number 4, the average person could fill as many as 23 2-litre bottles with the amount of saliva they produce in a month. It's basically a 2-litre bottle of spit per day.
Who measures this stuff?
Maybe they have a lab where they have these people and they just line up bottles and go.
6,000 dogs are registered to come to work with their owners at Amazon headquarters in Seattle. On an average day, there are 500 in the office. The building has a doggy deck with a fake fire hydrant.
I hope they don't have carpet in the office and they have tiles.
God almighty.
Jesus. Number 6, the longest time between twins being born is 87 days. That is a long labour.
I don't understand that.
Well,
Yeah.
I think one would have been born prematurely and the other one wasn't. Otherwise, that would have occupied a theatre for a long... It got me thinking for a while.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I don't think you could... You can't stay in your mum for like 11 months. You're not an elephant.
Do you think they would celebrate the same birthday? If they're twins and they're born 87 days apart,
Interesting.
what would you do?
Don't know.
Never mind.
Well, maybe they celebrate on the due date. A 20-1 outsider won a race in 1923 at Belmont Park. Nothing weird so far, apart from jockey Frank Hayes being dead at the finish, having suffered a heart attack mid-race.
Wow.
Is that a stat or a fact?
Well, the 20-1 is the stat. It was just a
thank you
nice
very
story.
much. Yes, it's very good. And
finally, most Muppets are left-handed. Shall I tell you why?
go on.
Because to operate a Muppet, you have to put both hands inside the Muppet, and the prominent hand is your right hand, and they operate their heads with the right hand because that's the bit that has the most movement. So then, to do the hands, they use their left hand.
Hiya, hiya, hiya!
Hiya! Break time.
You know what? We haven't said welcome back since we've asked any of the questions. We've just read out the question numbers.
Because people aren't welcome.
Okay, all right. Sod off, everybody. Question number 4. What did English physician Joseph Mortimer Granville invent in 1883?
I know this one.
Can I give you a clue?
If you want, even though I know it.
I'm guessing.
Washing machine?
Well, sort of.
Is it the electric vibrator? I mean, he didn't invent the vibrator.
I was going to say you stressed the word electric.
Yeah,
there.
there's
That
a
was very-
distinction here because they used to have these steam-powered tables that you lay on beforehand, which is closer to the washing machine.
How do you know this?
It's called the internet. It's full of useless facts.
Why are we discussing electric?
It's review time. Oh, by the way, that was listicle. We didn't even say the word listicle.
Oh.
The stats were our listicle, and now it's review time.
Da, 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 da.
What are we reviewing? Washing machines.
What
No,
are we reviewing?
We've decided to go upmarket and review sex toys and other associated products.
Okay. When you say we, you're the producer. Go on.
I don't know. I took a week off last week. We did something sensible, I'm sure. We did the moon.
Yes, we did the moon. That was also your choice.
It was only because we did sex robots the week before.
So now we're doing sex toys instead.
I'm obsessed.
Okay.
So, product number 1. Go Hell for Leather in bondage gear. The Borat-inspired wet-look spandex body harness comes with metal studs and a thong back. That's the product. I just thought I had to read it out because people can't see it.
Okay.
Hopefully you can now visualize this. This was a review. As a traffic court judge, I cannot say enough good things about this mankini. It lets me luxuriate in my silky vestments while still upholding my dignity in court. It's snug, but never confiding. Confiding? No idea. And after listening to 7 hours of testimony all about illegal U-turns, that slim thong back is the only thing between me and insanity.
Absolutely brilliant. I'm assuming it's fake.
No.
The next one is an edible thong. Perfect for midnight munches, the edible thong is chocolate and strawberry flavoured. Ideal for those with a sweet tooth, not so good for anyone who is gluten-free. So, the review from Brandon Hall, verified purchase, so it means he actually bought this. He writes, a couple of things. One, there's no indication whether these are gluten-free or not. It's 2015. Come on now, guys. This information needs to be on all the packaging. Number two, I do believe they are a healthy alternative to some of the other snacks out there. And by the way, this was titled, "My kids love these in their lunch boxes."
I bet they do. Take a gamble on love with these kinky dice. The adult Love Dice 6 game retails at just 71 pence on Amazon. Now, let me try and describe the dice. There are two sets of dice, one with a verb and one with a body part. So they say things like lick and suck on the verb, and hand and ears and thigh and other parts of the body, which I won't go into. With a 1-star review from an Amazon customer. What a waste of money. I spent 3 hours licking my girlfriend's hand.
The next one is for Inflatable Judy. Enough said. Do I really have to read this?
Yes, including the headline.
Well, I'll leave the headline till last. From R. Schwert. I'm slightly disappointed.
Verified purchase, by the
yes,
way.
I'm slightly disappointed with Inflatable Judy because it doesn't have any holes. She's very pretty, but is only capable of heavy petting at most. Without sufficient holes, what's the point? Just order a Maglite and some Vaseline instead. And its headline doesn't have holes.
You could put a hole in it, I suppose, but
it would pop.
It wouldn't be inflatable Judy anymore.
I'm very, very confused.
And finally,
thank God,
the Love Kiss oral stimulation massager tongue-licking vibration toy for women with 7 speeds. This is from Jay, and is also a verified purchase only a few weeks ago. Headlined, "Buy if you want an exorcism." Okay, so I bought this for my girlfriend because I really don't like giving a head. It's nothing against her, I just don't like doing it. So I saw this and thought she would like the sensation. Anyway, let's not get into that. So I slid in. She turned on to the first setting and we got going. After about 30 seconds, she pressed the toy down and I can't remember the rest. Apparently, she instantly came that hard that her legs kicked out, hit my jaw, I went flying back and landed on the radiator. She thought that she had killed me. All in all, after a few paracetamol, a frozen bag of peas off my jaw. Off my jaw? It's a good toy. If you're going to use it with your partner, I suggest that you wear some form of riot gear to protect you from any physical damage that may occur. Yours truly, a damaged boyfriend. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would?
That wasn't question number 5. You just enjoying it. Number 5, young man.
Apple and Moses are the children of which famous actress?
We're doing celebrity again.
Well, we're doing our final fun story because after nearly 30 minutes of turgid
Apple and Moses.
news.
So it's somebody who's gave birth in or had sex in the Garden of Eden and then in a burning bush.
It may well have been.
Yes.
What's she got cream to treat it.
I have no idea.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Right. I actually had absolutely no idea.
Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow,
Okay.
because that's part of... We're going to do 2 and finally stories again, and I think both of these have been verified,
Yeah, so
unlike last time where we had our fake fart smells.
So we'll get to Gwyneth in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. So in Manchester, they occasionally have ice and a little bit of snow, so they got some new salt spreaders, these vehicles that go out tossing out salt or sand or whatever, and they've given them some names, which I think is absolutely great. Or rather, the council asked for names, and they got 2,000 ideas sent into them on Twitter.
Was there a Gritter McGritterface?
There was, who's that? I know that.
There was a boat called Boaty McBoatface that won I think it was an Antarctic exploration boat, and they had a competition like that, and everybody just sent in Boaty McBoatface, and they couldn't do it, so they named it the Sir David Attenborough.
Oh, that's very funny. No. So amongst the names that came up, I'll just read a few of them. Snow Gallagher.
Oh, excellent.
And, of course, Noel Gallagher is a Mancunian.
Aye.
Greta Thunberg.
Not Mancunian.
That's actually very, very good. Basil Salty.
Excellent.
Grit Astley. Spready Flintoff, which is a cricket comment. Spready Mercury.
Lacking originality there.
Yes. I love this one. Snow Begone Kenobi. Absolutely fantastic.
Snow Begone. Brilliant. Any more?
No. Do you have any thoughts?
I would have added another one, but I don't think it's politically correct nowadays. Gary Gritter.
It's very good. Very, very good. Okay, your turn. Your story. Mate.
Okay, so, and finally, an unfinally story.
I'm so glad
Why
you
are we
do the
talking
naughty
about
ones.
Gwyneth Paltrow? This is the headline, and then we'll see where it goes from here. Gwyneth Paltrow sells out of candle that smells like her vagina. And we have so many questions. I mean, the headline's badly written for a start. But a company called Goop, with Gwyneth Paltrow's backing, has released a candle called This Smells Like My Vagina. You're thinking of at the moment.
I can't. I don't. I'm not often stuck for words.
So, number one, how do they go about actually testing it? Who is the person who said, Gwyneth, can we send a team of laboratory people in to smell your foo-foo?
Lab rats.
And two, what did they come up
Maybe
with?
they got a little hamster, like you know, like a wheel, and the hamster's just going round and round and round and flitting like bits of liquid up.
There's
and
a bloke.
catching it in a test
There's a
tube.
bloke from a Hollywood laboratory just down there going.
God, nobody's gonna ever listen to us again after this.
So, do you want to know what Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina smells like?
Go for it.
We're not going to get to the end of this. Apparently, it's a. I told you we're not going to. It's a blend of geranium, citrusy bergamot, and cedar absolutes juxtaposed. Because somebody was down there going, "Oh, I think this is juxtaposed with damask rose and ambrette seeds that puts us in mind of fantasy, seduction, and sophisticated warmth."
All I can say is there's something very, very fishy about this story.
Hey! See you next week, folks.